Welcome back, F1 fans. Hitting the Apex is going to start up for you now in just a second. We've got another amazing guest today. Obviously, we had an amazing show last week. We got an even more awesome show this week, and not only because racing is back, baby. So make sure you tune in. We've got the Belgian Grand Prix. We've got special guest. I won't even mention him yet because you guys are going to want to check this out. And also a little bit of Daniel Ricciardo news, some sad, some happy, and I think it's going to be exciting. Make sure you check it out. Hitting the Apex coming at you right now. Lights out. Let's go. Hi, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Hitting the Apex here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. We've got, as always, co-host Vish and Moni Lebro. And as you guys can see, we've got a very special guest. Didn't want to ruin the surprise. Got Gabe Elias, Gabe and Confused here on the show. Really excited to have him on the show. Talk a little Belgian Grand Prix and some other things with him as well. So we're really excited to have you on the show, Gabe. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get it started, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, You Brake Wheel Fix. It's here it goes. You Brake Wheel Fix, repair damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, and bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands such as Vossen, Ford Giotto, Fuel Off-Road, and more. They now even offer no credit check financing up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. Fast turnaround times on all repairs, and they even provide loaner wheels in many cases. You Brake Wheel Fix is your total automotive wheel solution located in North Miami, right off of Biscayne Boulevard and Northeast 146th Street. Check out some of their great work across all social media from Instagram to Facebook at You Brake Wheel Fix. That's the letter U, Brake Wheel Fix, or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. You can even give them a call, 305-748-0112. Again, that's 305-748-0112, and schedule your appointment today. You Brake Wheel Fix, changing the way you see wheels. Whew! Been going a million miles an hour, which is exciting because, listen, we've got back-to-back awesome kick-ass shows. But let's be honest, man, it's race week. We've got the Belgian GP. Silly season is over, but they ended in fashion, right? They ended it with a bang, if I do say so myself, and we'll definitely get into that also. But without further ado, Vish, let them know who we got on the show today, baby.
Yeah, we have a bona fide Formula One world champion designer here. So Gabe, for those that don't know him, Gabe and Confused on Twitter, Gabe Elias. It's a design engineer with Mercedes. He's a local. He's one of us. He's from Miami, and he's currently a senior staff designer with Rivian and director for GME Concepts. It's a full service motorsport consultancy. Working on F1's commercial side of the business and doing driving and scouting management. So he's got his hands in all sorts of automotive stuff, but again, a bona fide world champion designer here. So Gabe, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, from the bottom to Formula One and back. Yeah, worked in F1 for 6 years. So quite a bit I can probably tell you about from that stint. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Give us a little bit about how your experience definitely was with F1, with Mercedes, and talk to us a little bit about that. That's definitely something we want to know.
Yeah, sure. Well, getting to F1 was very difficult from the States. I was one of at Mercedes, probably one of 2 or 3 at the time Americans on the team of about 1,000 people. So quite rare. I was the only one from Florida. At least to my knowledge, I was the only one from Florida while my entire time there, and probably on the grid. So I took pride in that, knowing there's not too many people. But in Formula One or at Mercedes, I worked in design at let's see, just about every department except suspension and brakes. Probably I've touched just about every other part of the car in my time at Mercedes over the years, and got to work with a bunch of drivers, Nico, Lewis, Valtteri, even some of the young drivers like Esteban Ocon and Nick DeVries and all those other guys that kind of came through as sim drivers or young drivers in the Mercedes program at one time. And it was kind of like a humbling experience to be around those great names, these kind of, designers and engineers and drivers that I had grew up watching on television, from the US, and actually being right there next to them. So really, really fun. I won too many races, drank too much champagne. And
listen, there's never too much champagne to drink. Okay, there's never too much champagne. Let's be honest.
Every Monday after we won a race is champagne, basically probably 11 a.m. in the office. So I would say it didn't get old, but it definitely got very routine after a while. That's for sure. There's a lot of wins. But yeah, it was super exciting and fun to kind of bring that experience back to the States. I'm really happy to see how you guys are a testament to it, how popular Formula One now is in the US. And I'm just mad it wasn't this popular when I was in the middle of it.
So Gabe, that means that where were you stationed?
I lived in Oxford. I worked in Brackley at the Mercedes factory
and that's where you were the whole time.
Yep. I was in occasionally we travel to a race or a test, probably once a year type thing. But worked there at the factory as a designer, around very, very smart and talented people that I was, that would humble me on a daily basis. I was just trying to be as good as them. So
what's the highlight for you about working in Mercedes? What's the one thing that you took back with you to the States?
Well, the thing that sticks to me is, well, there's engineering, and then there's kind of like those high level highlights, like the being a part of something that 100 million people every weekend are watching on television, watching a car that I helped design win a race, or get a podium or win a championship. Like that is there's really no way to top it. As an engineer, I think that there's few things on this earth that can top that accomplishment. Engineering, it was called competition engineering, I guess is a good way to describe Formula One. It's not really racing. It's just a bunch of geeks like us coming up with ways to beat other geeks, and we put a guy in the car and we tell him to drive. That's basically what Formula One is. It's it is really a competition between engineers, scientists, aerodynamicists across the grid, and I think that's why I'm so excited that everyone's so enthralled with F1 now, because I'm like, hey, finally, it's an engineering formula, so people like me can get a bit of a spotlight. It highlights things like STEM and mathematics and physics and those kinds of disciplines that probably don't get a lot of visibility in the real world. And now you guys see it up close. You see it practically used with your favorite drivers driving the fastest cars on earth every weekend. So I would say though my highlight of it was the first championship we won, 2014. The championship party, which was like sometime around Christmas, was probably the coolest party I've ever been to in my life. It was just like unbelievable, a very surreal experience. And I think that's when it really was like a pinch me moment. Like I just won a world championship, and then we just had to continue going over year in, year out to try to top that. And by the time we won our sixth, I would say that the entire office was very burned out. It's just so difficult to keep topping your performance the previous year, because everyone's getting better and you have to get better every year. So that means Gabe had to get better, or the guy next to me or the girl next to me, their designs had to be better, more mature, faster, lighter, stronger, all this kind of stuff. And we all collectively had to do our little part to create a better, faster car every year, year after year after year. We couldn't take a year off, because you take a year off, then Ferrari beats you. So you can imagine the pressure of stringing together 7 world championships, at the time. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't know if Ferrari's beating anybody anytime soon, but that's yeah, I'm a Ferrari fan, and here I am knocking my own team. But anyways,
we should point out that Gabe left. Now they got a porpoising problem. That can't be a coincidence.
this is true.
We see what happened.
Unbelievable,
here, right?
Gabe, what are you doing? What are you?
Well, I mean, not what is he doing? Is that the missing?
Right? Why aren't you right? What are you doing here? It's funny, man.
Yeah, no coincidence, right? I'm just kidding.
we do have a couple of questions in the chat, and then we definitely want to talk about Ricardo and do some preview of Spa. But so Fernie's got a couple of questions. First, do you have a favorite Lewis Hamilton story?
Who's that guy?
Let's see. I remember him. Well, I guess there was 2 instances. I interacted with him a couple times throughout the years. Lewis really wasn't that present in the factory, especially as he became more popular around the world. He became less and less visible around us on the team. He would just show up to a race kind of thing. And that's fine. When you're like Superman, you don't really have to come hang out with us. The plebes, we'll give you a good car and you just go drive it. It's like, see ya. But I remember him in the factory, and Lewis is very socially awkward, or at least, I don't know if a lot of people know this. He's very quiet. I would say he's probably quite an introvert. So, but he was wearing these like new Yeezys walking around the factory. I remember, and it was like the zebra pair of Yeezys. And, he stands out like a sore thumb because this is England. It's all gray and drab and cold. And he's just walking around with these like zebra shoes. And I remember going up to him and being like, hey man, a nice Yeezys or something like that. And he was like, you're the only one here that probably knows what those are. And I was just thinking that, I'm like, yeah, man, we're in the middle of nowhere in England. You're probably right. I don't think anyone else knows what's on your feet here. So it's like, kudos to you. He was trying really hard to be a celebrity. And I think that's why a lot of people in the US really empathize with him, because he's just like any other athlete here. But in England, he's like, they think he's a
god.
Yeah, I think they call him goofy names. I think he's trying to be a rapper. They make fun of his dress, the way he hangs out with other celebrities and athletes, and that doesn't kind of behoove him to the British public, but to Americans, he's pretty normal. So I kind of feel for him trying to grapple those two things.
And the second one there,
what
high school did you go to, man?
This should be an easy one to answer.
So I did a year at Killian, and I actually finished high school in West Palm at Forest Hill, and then I went to the University of Miami after that. So
let's go, baby! There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it's all over my room.
Of us.
Yeah, it's all over my room. So
I'm here. Yeah. So I hope that answers it. Yeah.
I went to Palmetto, so rival school, but that's all good.
Oh, cool.
Well, Killian was my rival school in baseball. We played baseball, South Miami. So, public school, baby, let's go. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. What's up, Evan? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining the show. So I guess we can kind of shift gears. Totally pun intended on that. On the latest news, I think this was something that we obviously didn't expect to be talking about until it popped off yesterday with all this craziness surrounding the Daniel Ricciardo news. He is out now after this season, out at McLaren, and a lot of mixed feelings, I think, with Danny Rick, with his time at McLaren. I think a lot of expectations. And a lot of disappointment as well, and especially we're seeing a lot of that this year as well. We want to start off with you, Gabe, on this as far as your thoughts surrounding the whole entire thing and how everything went down and what you think is going to be next for Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, very surprised because this is. In essence, Australian crime that you're seeing in front of you. It's very bad. I'm surprised. I think Danny Rick, obviously a multiple race winner, was one of the stronger pedalers on the grid. I don't think the car suited him very well. You could see it was very apparent that this new style of vehicle, at least what was what McLaren's gave him this year it does not suit either his driving style or, various other factors probably related to that. Maybe as a new engineer, maybe he has just a different team dynamic that he didn't like, but something's off this year. I'm not sure that I like the way that McLaren's going about their driver search. They have pretty much tapped every single person in IndyCar, everyone in Formula 2, and then also many people across the grid in Formula 1 for that second seat, basically saying Lando's set for multiple year contract, but Danny Rick's seat's up for everyone. And it's looking like it's going to go to Piastri, and I'm not sure that I rate Piastri as high as McLaren seems to, So yeah, very devastated for Danny Rick, but maybe he should have stayed at Alpine or Renault before he left. Maybe that's what's happened here.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I think it's gonna be interesting to see where he lands, because I don't think he's out of F1. I think that someone's gonna give him a shot. Vish, your thoughts on the whole Danny Ricciardo news?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything Gabe said was spot on. The car and him just never, even in the previous iteration, he randomly won the race in Monza. But other than that, I mean, he's been fairly consistently off the pace with Norris. And there's a lot to say about how McLaren handled this from like a class standpoint and, correct way to conduct yourself. Like Gabe said, just holding open auditions with half the IndyCar series and then sneaking around and bringing Piastri in like undercover like that. But I think at the end of the day, it's just Ricciardo wasn't performing. Whether it's the car is a bad fit or not, I can't imagine he's enjoying driving it. And I can't imagine he got a pretty big check to just leave that year. So I think he's fine. I think, there's something to be said for the treatment, of course, that, there was probably a better way to accomplish this, but it's probably the right outcome for both of them. Like, I don't think he was doing him any good, being, what is he, like 60 points behind Norris. Like, that's not good for his career. It's not good for McLaren. So it's probably best that they part ways. I will say when as a McLaren fan, we all know that that's my role on this show. When I think we all agree, we're all big Carlos Sainz fans here. So, when he and Norris were there, they were really neck and neck and tight. And then obviously like Ferrari's a better car and a better job, and he's won a race there now. So obviously they come knocking, you take it. So at first it's like crap. Then you get Danny Ricciardo and you're like, oh, we're not going to miss a beat here. We missed several beats. Like if you go back to 2 years ago when they hired him, you did not see this poor performance coming. And whether the car doesn't fit him or, as Gabe said, the hundreds of people involved in designing a car and delivering it, whether he just doesn't work with that whole setup, his engineers, whatever, it's not working. And it's best for him to move on. Now, I don't get the Piastri stuff just across the board. You have two teams fighting over someone that's never driven an F1 car before. These are not, I mean, they're midfield, but they're front of the midfield. This is not like back of the grid. It's just like, is it really?
Yeah, it's not like him joining. It's not like him joining a Williams car.
It feels like it's a lot of fuss over some. I know he's done well in the junior series and he's supposed to be a rising star, but I mean, even Max drove at the time Toro Rosso a little bit, like before like Red Bull put him in the big car. It just seems like a lot of fuss over him. Like they're going to court trying to. I don't know. Obviously, I hope it works out, but it seems like there's just a lot of faith being put in Piastri now.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Mark Webber has been pitching, but he's been going across the grid, and obviously everyone's getting the Piastri pitch because that's his manager. And he's doing a great job because he's stirred up the whole grid. He is this kid is at the center of silly season this year for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moni, your take on Danny Rick and where do you think he ends up in 2023? Does he have a seat in F1?
Honestly, I think it was only a matter of time for this announcement to happen. We spoke about it very briefly last week with Elizabeth, and I just feel like everyone kind of saw it coming. It was a matter of time. I'm gonna have to agree. I don't think his time in F1 is over just yet. I don't think he wants to leave F1. I just feel like he himself might be a bit apprehensive about the choice that he wants to make in regard to the team that he wants to go to. So to me, his future looks a bit, what's the word? Like, like, like shady. I can't really
Say it in Spanish. You know you want to.
I know, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Vocab. I'm working on my vocab.
So I think maybe you're saying murky, like unclear.
Thank
uncertain.
you. Murky is a thing.
Okay, but we want to know what's the term in Spanish. I want to know.
Que no se ve claro.
Yeah.
Like that's
So it's not clear. You could have just
it's
gone
not
with
clear.
it.
No, but
Leave her alone, Vish.
no. The thing is, that's more of an expression, and I know there's a word for that expression in English. And I was trying to think of the word, and I struggled. And I was like, let me try to find it, and I couldn't. But murky is the perfect word. Thank you so much, Vish. It kind of looks murky to me, and yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know where he would end up. I mean, it's not like he also has a silver platter of options. So
Could it be that he's a little Gabe and confused?
He's definitely confused. He's definitely confused.
I mean, there aren't that many.
I had to, Gabe. I had to.
I mean, there aren't that many options if you think about it. The top 3 teams, there's no seat open. He already kind of burned some bridges at Alpine the way he kind of left.
Yeah,
and there's not much else there. He's not going to go drive an AlphaTauri. He's not going back to the junior Red Bull team. Like, where is he going? Like, there's not.
So where do you think he ends up, Gabe?
Well, I thought they would give him a second go at Alpine, but it does look like Laurent Rossi, who's the CEO of Alpine, has been had his eyes set on Mick Schumacher. I don't know if that's a viable rumor, but if that's the case, if Schumacher moves around, then there's probably going to be some Ferrari-based chess playing at Haas, where they'll try to put a junior driver into a Haas car, and then you could see Ricciardo being actually out of the grid altogether. I don't think he would go to a Williams, Williams seat or any of the lower seats on the grid. I don't see that happening. So, as Evan says, maybe he goes to Indy and thrives. He'd probably run circles around people in IndyCar. So it's quite possible where he goes.
Well, that's where I thought McLaren might do something where they kind of get him onto their Indy team to defray some of the cost of having to pay him $13 million or whatever to not be there.
They said, nope, we're giving it all to you, buddy. Get out of here.
That guy's he had a great contract at Alpine. If I remember correctly, the number was very high, like over 20 million many years ago. So he's made plenty of money in his career. Whether or not
you have to remember for that was him kind of neck and neck with Max at Red Bull when that's who Alpine took him from. So they had to pay through the nose for that to like get him off of that team to essentially build their team around. They had to pay for it because he was in a race winning car and competitive with Max, and then the rest was never there.
He just didn't show up when he left Red Bull. You're absolutely right. The pressure got high.
He'll drive for Andretti and help them transition into F1 in a couple of years. Hey, man.
I mean, I think that seat's going to be Alonso's next seat. By the time Andretti gets an F1, Alonso will be ready to jump ship over there.
Yeah, no
Turning
kidding,
50. Yeah.
Gabe, I know we got to get you out of here soon, but wanted to get your take real quick as we kind of transition over to the race. Obviously, the Belgian Grand Prix is this week, and finally we've got some racing again after the summer break. Talk to me a little bit about how you feel about this, this grid overall. Does in your eyes, does it favor a specific team or driver more than others, and what can you kind of see happen? And we definitely want to get we'll get your top 3, your podium finishes, and a surprise as well. So we'll get your pick before we let you get out of here.
Okay, so Spa is a classic track, right? One of my favorites, actually. It definitely would I guess this track seems to go well with cars that have very good high speed, top end cars that can trim out, that don't have a lot of dirty downforce, that are very efficient vehicles. So you'll notice usually over the years at Mercedes, they'd run less wing at Spa. Most of the teams would on purpose, because you kind of trim the car out here, and you deal with the slow speed corners, but you're really making your speed there in sector 1 and then sector 3. Those are your really your fast areas. As far as what teams would benefit from this, Ferrari's got really seemingly the best power. Red Bull is very good at the top end as well, and I bet you'll probably see some Red Bull cars definitely up towards the front here. I think this really does suit them well, with their ability to run a little bit less downforce, have really good traction, and really kind of lean on that Honda engine at a track like this. So I think this might bode very well for Red Bull, and obviously Max brings out a lot of supporters to Spa, as you guys know, and I expect that to probably continue.
So let's look at the details there a little bit, Vish, as you kind of put them up there. First race, it looks like I'm having a hard time watching because I'm blind, but so here's a circuit. You've got 2 DRS zones. Looks like one in sector 1 and the other in sector 3. This race, and I know I was looking at
So
it.
so
I'm
one
so
kind of
blind that I
spans.
can't see. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I got it. One kind of spans sectors, end of sector 3 into sector 1, and then the other one is straight up in sector 1. And it's one of those classic F1 tracks that we might be losing, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, you do get. I mean, this is probably one of the more famous tracks in Formula One, where off the start line and then up Eau Rouge is basically one of the famous corners where you kind of sweep up through to the top of the hill, and as Gabe said, it's a power track, so you trip out the downforce, and it's because you gotta. What you can't tell from the grid is this is all uphill, so you're really just it is
Motor.
Power, yep.
They just reprofiled Eau Rouge this year. I don't know how that's going to work out, if that slows the cars down or
it was supposed to not actually change the layout. I think they changed some of the curbing so to try and make it more safer, and they changed some of the gravel pits, but apparently the actual track layout's the same, but we'll see.
Yeah.
44 laps.
Well, last year it was 2, but
yeah, right. Lap record is Valtteri Bottas. It looks like in 2018 with a minute 46 and 0.286. I think that going into the tire compounds, it looks like they're going to go with a C2 to a C4 as well. C2 being the hard, C3 the medium, C4 the soft on this one. How are the tires going to play into effect for this specific track? This obviously new tires this year, new size, so on and so forth. Obviously the cars, as far as how they perform with these tires, is going to play a factor as well. What do you see as far as number of stops? Could this be a 2-stopper? Could this be a 3-stopper? Is there anything that's kind of telling you that they should go one way or the other? We can start with you, Gabe, on that.
I'm not really certain. I don't have any of the simulation data that Mr. Pirelli here will be able to tell us. I know that they're going to always lean on the harder compounds, so it'll probably be just in the race. It'll be a C2, C3. If they do 2-stop it, this is I believe the longest lap of the year. It's a high speed circuit. Sector 3 is almost entirely flat. At least it was in the previous generations of cars. So there's just no lifting until you get to the bus stop chicane at the end of the lap. So it's generally, I think it's pretty easy on the tires. It has been. I want to say it's probably a 1-stop race. in the past. I'm not sure if that changes with with these compounds. So we shall see. There's always safety cars at Spa, so anything's possible. We could be up for some inclement weather as well. So all these things play in.
I was about to say, I mean, if you think it's going to be, speak for yourself on the one-stop strategy. If you're Mattia Binotto, okay, speak for yourself. That's what he would say about that. All right, he's got other plans for this race. Who knows what the hell they are, but he's got other plans. All right, just kind of going back into that, Moni. As far as let's look at the weather on this, because I think that. Vish, you're muted, bro.
Real quick on the tires, Gabe mentioned the weather is kind of all over the place with the forecast keeps changing.
Let's see.
I don't think it's going to be a washout like last year, but that's going to mess. Whatever strategy they have is probably going to get. And as Gabe mentioned, the length of the track. So big thing is it can be pouring in one sector and dry in the other. And they got to kind of deal with that. So tires are going to be kind of a big, and strategy is going to get thrown. And then, once Latifi causes a safety car, then, that'll switch the strategy up as well. So, guys, I did it. I got our daily Latifi joke in there.
Daily Latifi.
You're all welcome.
I guess before we let you guys go, because I know, Moni, you got to get on out of here as well. Let's get your podium picks for this race, Gabe. We'll start with you, man. What's it looking like? What do you got?
Okay. I like Max on the top step for sure this weekend. I think there will be some Ferrari follies. I'm sorry about that. It's just not looking good for them. I'll say this might be a rare Red Bull 1-2. So Max Checo, and then I think third up we'll see Carlos. And third, I'm saying a no Leclerc podium.
I'll take Carlito. I'll tell you.
That's my prediction.
What's your kind of like your surprise, your dark horse, or
we basically throw one thing out there that's not going to happen.
Like a hot take. Yeah. Hot take, basically. Yeah.
With the weather, I think you could see at least one Williams in the points at the end of the race. Absolutely, I think you see Albon shooting up the grid there. So I think that's a bit of a hot take, getting him up into the points. It's going to be a rarity.
I would say when you said what Williams, you didn't have to specify.
You want to hear something funny? You and Elizabeth have the same take. Oh. Albon with a point.
There you go.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, that's crazy from last week. That's cool, man. That's cool. That's
cool. Minds think alike, yeah. So
yeah, I'll tell you, man. Gabe, let them know where they can find your work, and how to follow you and how to keep in touch with all your stuff, man.
Sure. Find me on Twitter. I'm very active on race weekends. Usually just talking shit and putting up funny information about the weekend. Twitter at Gabe and Confused. I haven't written in a while, but I got some articles on racer.com. So if you guys want to see some things, some insider information in Formula One, I have some info up there, and just reach out. Hopefully I can join you guys again for a longer stint next time. Okay.
Absolutely, man. You're more than welcome to show up at any time. We truly appreciate it.
When it's not a race preview week, I might bring out some card things and have you walk us through some of the technical design stuff, which will bore these two, but I'll just nerd out with you.
That's all right. That's all right, man. Gabe, thanks so much, man, for joining us. We truly appreciate it, brother.
All right, take care, everyone. See you. Enjoy the race.
I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Money. I know you got to get out of here too. You got to go chase down some presidents. So, just kind of give us a little recap of how you think the race is going to go, and give us your take.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to give you my driver and my teams to watch. Okay, because I know you guys don't want to miss that. I know you guys don't want to miss accurate information. Okay, so I think my driver to watch this weekend is going to be, I'm going to have to go a little basic over here, and it's going to be Checo. Okay, just give me a moment. Just give me one moment. It's good. Just don't dismiss me just yet. Just listen. The reason why I want to watch Checo this weekend is because, in my opinion, he's approaching a very crucial point in the season. You know, if you look at the standings, he's still in third, no? And he has two other drivers that are creeping up on him. I'm talking about George Russell and Carlos Sainz. And them two, they already have a really close competition. They're only 2 points away. I believe George has like 150. No. Well, yeah, George Russell has like 158. Carlos has like 156. So I think they're already competitive enough between them because they know it could go either way. And once it goes either way, then they're going to go for Checo's neck. So in my opinion, this is a really important moment for Checo in the season because it's time for Checo to work with Red Bull and to work with the car in order to stay reliable. You know, to not, hopefully the car stays reliable as well. But yeah, if this is I think it's really a really important time for him, especially if he wants to cling on to the third spot in the standings.
Okay. All right. So what do you got? What do you got for us?
So you got Checo 1, 2, and 3 at the same time?
Oh my god. Anyways.
What's your podium?
Anyway.
Okay, that was kind of dismissive. That's a good point. Actually, we should address that a little bit.
What's the hot take? Checo wins.
No, wait, hold on. But she made a good point there, which is Checo is actually critical to winning the constructors. We mentioned that the drivers is kind of gone, but the constructors is more competitive. He needs to do his end there.
Yep.
And
he's
last year
lately.
Well, last year he didn't. Like, as much as Lewis and Max were like right down to the wire, Mercedes easily won the constructors because Bottas whipped Checo. So he needs to make sure he's in front of Carlos right now. He's doing his job. He needs to keep doing that.
Also, Mercedes, out of like the last, I think like 9 races, they've had one driver on the podium for 6 out of 9 races, I think it was. So I'm just saying, if you're looking at it from Vicious' perspective, which is an excellent point, that, you know, Checo is an important part for Red Bull to just, you know, I guess you could say they could just chill and have the constructors. He's a really important piece. But there's Mercedes, which has been on podium, kind of bringing down the necks a little bit. So that's why I think that Checo was like a really important part, whether he climbs up to second or not, at least the constructions, you know.
It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Jack, by the way. He's driving, but he's still listening to us. So shout out to Jack on the show, man. So Moni, all right, give us your top 3 then. What's your podium look like?
Okay, my podium looks like this. Number 1, Max Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
Number 3, Checo Perez.
Checo. Yeah. All right, and what's your hot take?
Either. You guys ready? Okay, my surprise is that I think Mercedes is gonna DNF one or the other.
So one Mercedes DNF.
Yeah.
So what do you think Russell's gonna do then to cause the DNF?
I don't know.
That's awesome.
We have a few themes on this show, and we gotta keep them going.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. I love it. Okay.
I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a new technical directive that's gonna kick off during the Spa GP, and it has to do with bouncing and porpoising, which we all know it's Mercedes' specialty. So that's another reason why I'm like that. Mercedes is my team to watch, and why I have my little hot take situation type of thing.
So what is it? So what's that technical
So it's the same one that they did like 2 months ago where they kept delaying it. Remember, like, fine, we'll do it after winter break in Spa.
Yeah.
We finally arrived there. So it's the same one where they're gonna do some kind of new test on it to make sure it doesn't flex or something.
It's the flexing. The flexing.
Yeah, but they've already, it's the first week they enforced it. I feel like a lot of those changes will already be built into the car at this point. They knew it was coming. So
well, Fernie brings up a good point. And by the way, Moni, if you got to get out of here, I know you got to you got to roll, you can go ahead. So thank you, Moni. We appreciate it, and we'll definitely see you during the races this weekend. We'll text back and forth, tweet back and forth,
For
and
sure.
talk some trash. Good night.
Say hi to the
God bless.
president.
Say hi to Presidente.
I will. Bye bye.
Bye.
So Fernie brings up a good point, right? A lot of it depends on the grid penalties. Also, do you foresee anybody taking any grid penalties this weekend?
I mean, it's hard to say.
We
just
probably
based
won't know, right?
Yeah, because I mean, we've multiple times done predictions on this Wednesday, and then by Friday it's like, oh crap, he's starting at 20th. So this one's even harder though, because there's been such a long layoff. So it would be a completely strategic thing.
Right.
In the past, it's been someone's engine blew up, they crashed, and they're probably going to have to take a penalty at the next race. This is there's been a longer gap there. So in theory, shouldn't be kind of a carryover, but this is a track where in theory you can overtake. So
gotcha.
This might be one where you want to take those penalties, but yeah, that's hard to tell.
Before we keep going, we didn't mention this yet, but this is how the schedule is going to play out. FP1 is Friday morning at 8:00 in the morning. You've got FP2 at 11 a.m. and then you've got FP3, which will be the next day, the following day, so Saturday morning at 7 in the morning, which nobody will watch, and then qualifying at 10 a.m. On Saturday morning, which is nice, and then you've got the race on Sunday at 9 a.m. So typical European start times. So
yeah, that's kind of the standard.
It's kind of the standard, yeah, pretty much. Before we get to your predictions and mine, Vish, we kind of, I guess, keep on with the theme of Spa. I know there's been a lot of talk about Spa not being around next year. You probably have more fond memories of it. Is Spa gone? What's your favorite Spa moment?
Yeah, well, I can tell you my least favorite was last year. That thing was a farce.
Yeah.
And they can't control the weather, and it wasn't safe to drive, but
yeah.
To do what they did, which is technically if they complete 2 laps, it counts.
Right, it counts.
So the reason they did it was it ended up benefiting Max because he had qualified on pole, so he got half of a race point wins for qualifying on pole, which is a lot of points, and like the championship was close or anything. But
true.
But I don't think it actually made a difference though in the end if you look at the points. But the reason they actually did it was it's an official race. There's no question of like refunding money. If you bought a ticket, there was a race. So it is just, I mean, that was
always terrible. Goes back to that, right?
Yeah, no, that's why they did it, because there was no way they could drive. They sent them out into the safety car for 2 laps and like race is over. Pull into that. It's in. So that's not great. Now I have 2 that I'll give you. First of all, I will say, and I think this is probably a universal opinion. As Fernie said, this is kind of this is a classic track. It's a fun track. There's long sweeping corners. It's challenging for the drivers. You got to be on it. There's a lot of places you can screw your race up. There's different sectors with different skills you need to get through them. And it's also a track that's adapted well as the cars have evolved. A lot of the great old tracks, as the cars changed, they got wider, they got bigger, ended up being horrible. This is one that did not. This is one that it kind of kept up and it was still usable. So yeah, it'll be a shame if it goes, but it looks like it's going to go. So in terms of memories, I'll give you 2. One is about 10 years ago. This is when Hamilton was driving for McLaren. Was it 10 years ago? It was like 12. I think it was 2010. And this is again, it's Spa. There was like changeable conditions. It was partially raining and wet, and people were slipping and sliding all over the place. And he didn't start on pole. And I know at one point, like Vettel spun out and white Button out. Button was Vettel was in the Red Bull. This was a long time ago, and Button was Hamilton's teammate. And then Hamilton ended up getting out in front. Looked like he was going to coast to victory. There was another crash. There was like a safety car with like 5 minutes left or 10 minutes left. At like just 10 laps left or whatever. And still remember it. He's just driving down the straight and it was wet, I guess. So he spins the car under the safety car, does a full 3, does a max, 360s onto the grass, gets back on, does not get overtaken because he did it so smoothly. And then he ended up winning the race and took the lead in the championship.
Wow.
Which at that time I was like, he's gonna do this. And then like the next race, Felipe Massa punted him off the track, and that was the end of his championship. That was the closest championship they've had. There's 5 drivers that technically could have won it in the last race. That's the one where Vettel won from third. We actually talked about that we
did,
yeah. So that was that same season. So that was when Hamilton took the lead, and then the next race he got hit off the track and
gotcha.
DNF'd, and that did it. But my actual favorite one, this is just because of one pass. So this is this is gonna unleash the old man jokes on me. But this was, I think, in 2000. It was the first time that Schumacher won a championship with Ferrari. But in this race, so McLaren, Mika Hakkinen was the McLaren lead driver. He won the last 2 championships, going for the third. This is back in an era where there was no DRS and it was very hard to pass. So he's coming up. He's stuck behind Schumacher, and he's quicker, but it's like impossible to pass. And then they come up on a lap car, which is Ricardo Zonta, who was driving at the time this car called British American Racing, which ended up being Honda, and then Braun, which then ended up being Mercedes. So the precursor to that. So going up the hill is where they happen to encounter him. So Schumacher goes like left, and then Hakkinen just says F it and sends it up the inside, like overtakes them both. And it's like the greatest pass I've ever seen. It's all over YouTube. You can go look at this. But it's right at the top of the hill. And it's just like, what the hell was that?
Pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. That really is.
And that was another one where it's like, yes, he took the lead of the championship, and then the next race his car blew up and he lost. It's a common theme on these. Nothing goes well when it goes well. It's fun. But those are my 2.
This is an interesting track, like you said. And there's going to be a lot of chances for overtakes here and things like that. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, it's definitely good that it's a little bit easier to pass now. And certainly DRS is better that they have that versus just, sitting processionally. But,
right,
man, passes used to be like, you wait the whole race for one pass. So when it happens, it's like, whoa. It's like a goal in soccer. Now it's a little bit more common, but back then it's like impossible to overtake. Like someone's in the lead, well, they're gonna win. So
yeah. Well, that was nice. I think that.
Yeah, Monaco sucks. By the way, I mean,
it does. It does. Monaco does suck, but I think it's gonna be fun. I would hate to see it go, but we'll see. Really quick, let's wrap this up here. 2 things. 1, Antonio Giovinazzi to Haas. What's the deal with that?
Well, so Gabe touched on this a little bit. It looks like Mick might be going to Alpine.
And we spoke about that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like Mick making a move somewhere else. Obviously, not really deserving it, but again, we're talking
so part
about
of
the
it.
name,
so there's definitely like obviously the name carries weight, but he's apparently, there's all these like rumors going around that he's actually just decided he like terminated himself from the Ferrari young drivers program, whatever, to go it alone as part of this. So
I think it's actually a good idea. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you can get into an Alpine, go get in an Alpine. Like that is the 4th car in the grid right now. Like that is a good seat to be in. But that would open up a Haas seat. And so Antonio Giovinazzi, for those that don't remember, what it was at Alfa Romeo for several years.
Yep.
Has F1 experience. He does have Ferrari roots.
Wasn't he the backup?
Gabe mentioned the
backup for Ferrari this year?
Is that what he's doing? I mean, the reserve drivers don't do squad.
The reserve driver.
Yeah. I don't honestly. I don't know. He might be. So now. So obviously that would naturally spread some rumors that, as Gabe mentioned, Ferrari owns one of those 2 Haas seats. Like they get to put their driver in it. And then so now Haas has announced that Giovinazzi is going to drive their car in some of these practice sessions, which you figure means that they're expecting Mick to leave and that he might be the replacement, just because, I mean, you figure for Magnussen, he got in the car right before the season started. He probably still could use more practice time. You usually don't take a young driver like Mick out of the car to let some other young driver, actually Giovinazzi might be older than him, I think he probably is, to do a test. So it could theoretically be a Magnussen replacement, but it feels a lot like
I think Magnussen has raced too good this season for him to not have a seat next year, man.
Yeah, the problem is it's always money.
I know, but it would be a shame for him not to have a seat this.
Oh yeah,
next
that's
year.
where Giovinazzi is in Formula E.
Well, I know he was the reserve driver for some time. Maybe he, I don't know how that works. I think I guess like Pietro Fittipaldi isn't he in Formula E as well? But he's also a reserve driver.
Yeah, because the
Haas.
reserve drivers don't really do anything anymore.
Yeah.
So the reserve drivers used to be huge because used to test unlimited. So they would, they would spend all of this time in the car basically 5 days a week in the middle of the week. This is way back in the day, even like before Gabe was working in Formula, before they restricted testing. You used to just test constantly. Yeah. So basically, if you show up to the first race and the car sucks, you would steal everyone's design. 2 weeks later, you'd have a brand new car because you stole it, you developed it.
Can't do that anymore.
Out of it. Yeah, you can't. It's expensive. That's why they cramped down on it. Right. So there was times where reserve drivers would, pass up an F1 seat on a crappy team to be the reserve driver, like on McLaren or on Ferrari, because you get into the better car,
right?
and you're driving just a much better machine as reserve, and you're probably getting paid more, and it's just better to do that. But now the reserve driver doesn't do anything because you can't test.
Right.
So yeah, it feels like Giovinazzi's going into that Schumacher seat, and that Mick might be headed to Alpine.
Gonna be interesting to watch because I think that this offseason is going to be one of the more interesting off seasons that we've had in a little bit, with so many different options, seats opening up, seats not opening up, contracts, this, that, and the other. I think it's gonna be fun times. Talk about silly season. So let's go into the predictions then. Let's wrap it up here. Vish, what do you got? What do you got with?
So I do have a question for the committee of one here.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough. I think I might be able to
at the last week when Elizabeth was on, we did our second half of year wild predictions, and mine was that Daniel Ricciardo was going to win a race. Do I have to actually pick him to win a race at some point in the second half of the year, or those two independent events?
I mean, you're going to have to at this point, yeah.
Because if I have to, I mean, this is the higher likelihood with rain and everyone running into each other.
Okay. I mean, if you want
to
do
I'm double dipping on that, though. That's also my surprise. I'll put Ricciardo win
somehow. That right, that's your surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have to pick another one.
No, I don't think so.
Which means that the next ones can't be Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bulls, because there's no way on pace that's happening. So, all right,
man.
So
Lando right behind him.
Oh yeah, you gotta throw Lando in there. Lando second, complaining that he's not allowed to overtake. That feels on brand.
Okay.
In that, actually, I wonder if there's time to be like, Danny, move out of the way. So maybe I need a car in the middle. Yeah. So Lando third, not second. Okay, I need a car in the middle so they can't tell Daniel to move out of the way for Lando.
Oh man, I mean, you might as well go with like Alonso or something.
It's gotta be an Alpine, right?
Yeah, you gotta go.
All right, so we'll go with Ocon.
Ocon. Okay.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I love it.
This is terrible, but you know what? I've made like serious predictions that have been as bad as this one, so I'm okay owning it.
Okay, so if this happens, if this prediction comes to fruition, I will tattoo McLaren on my body somewhere. I will tattoo the McLaren, the little.
Wait, what? We're talking about the whole thing, like the whole podium, or just?
No, yeah. If this whole podium comes to fruition, I will tattoo.
As bad as the Ricciardo prediction is, like the whole podium. I mean, basically, Fernie, because I asked if I had to 100%. Do it, and I don't have Moni here to back me up, so.
I will tattoo the little logo, the McLaren logo, somewhere. All right, just for you.
All right, yeah, that's great.
That would be exciting. That would be interesting. You know what? I'm kind of, I want to give them some love because I feel like we've been tearing them apart for so long now, and so I'm gonna say Max P1, but I'm gonna go 2-3 for my boys in red. All right, so I'm gonna go Leclerc and Sainz 2-3. I think they bounce back. They have a strong showing, and I'm gonna give it to them.
You can't get them on the top step though. Come
on. You know what? Let me just leave it like that, okay?
They're losing ground to Max.
I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter, does it? Right? Should I do it then? Should I go Leclerc, Max, and Sainz?
I mean, I went with the ultimate Homer take, although, we fired the dude, so it would be totally on brand for McLaren to fire him and then have him win this race, because they got rid of the Honda engines and they stuck it in a Red Bull and won the
Screw it.
championship. So.
Screw it. Let's go Leclerc, Max, and Sainz. Okay, Leclerc, Max, and Sainz are my top 3.
There you go.
And I'm gonna go with.
I guess I should remind you that variable weather conditions are gonna be a lot of decisions that need to be made.
Yeah, listen, we end up screwed anyways, right? So whatever. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go. Mine's not as hot as yours.
Mine's idiotic. It's not even hot. There's hot takes, and then there's just that is done.
I'm gonna go K-Mag in the top 5. It's still kind of.
Oh, that's definitely a hot take. I'm trying to think if that's even
take.
plausible because mine's not.
Like
Albon getting a point is
right. Yeah,
plausible.
Yeah. It is.
Yours would take a lot of.
One Mercedes DNF, plausible, right? You can have one
that's
of them
definitely plausible. Yeah, yours is doable.
I get a lot's gonna have to happen.
It's you could have gone a little bit more conservative there. I appreciate you went all the way to 5.
Yeah, what the hell?
Because with your podium, that basically means one of Checo, Lewis, or Russell can finish in front of him.
Right.
And then no Alpine, no McLaren.
No Alpine, no McLaren. It's K-Mag all the way, baby.
All
right. I'm doing it. What the hell? Who cares?
It's definitely, again, this race tends to, lead to crashes and safety cars and the weather. So stuff could happen.
Listen, that Haas has some pace in it. It's just, it's not, that's about it.
It has been. Remember, Austria was hard to overtake it because it was fast on the straight line. There's some similarities there.
Yeah, if they can get out there and have some issues in front of them, I think that
100%. They're both. I think both K-Bag and Ricardo out in Q1. Just because of us. Just because of us.
Probably what's going to happen.
Just because of us,
right? Yeah. That's probably what's going to happen. Make sure you check us out every Wednesday night here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Hitting the Apex. Actually, at F1_5 Reasons. I'm sorry, or you can search Hitting the Apex as well. You can also check out the podcast that will be up right after the show as well on any platform that you get your podcasting. We are on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, everything. So make sure you check us out there on the podcast. Also, every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m., Hitting the Apex. Make sure we'll see you guys for the post-race show on Sunday after the Belgian Grand Prix. Keep it locked. You'll see Vish and myself and anybody else that wants to join. We'll see you guys Sunday afternoon. Take it easy.